Welcome back, moviegoers, to another edition of Going to the Movies. Today we're up in the Chicago area for the locations from a beloved classic, Home Alone. Starting off a little bit differently today because you may have noticed that we haven't been uploading as much recently, and that's mainly due to a new job that I started in February that hasn't allowed me as much free time to work on the YouTube channel. It's also given me a lot of time to think. Why is it that I am so obsessed with finding filming locations? And not just me, but there's so many others in this community that do the same thing, and I always wonder this, like, what is it about that draws us to these locations? We match up cracks in sidewalks, brick patterns, stuff like that. Why do we get so obsessive about it? I don't know, but we're gonna try to figure that out today. And right now, we're standing outside of arguably the most popular filming location on the planet. Somewhere around 1,000 to 1,500 people show up here every weekend. That's according to a Washington Post article from like a year ago. But that's for one reason. It was in Home Alone, which was a massive hit when it came out in 1990, and it was a part of so many people's childhoods. So this one makes a lot of sense. It's iconic. This movie is a part of the fabric of Christmas, and for a lot of people it reminds them of better days, and they want as close of a connection with the movie as they can get. Or they were taking a trip to Chicago and decided to stop by for some easy Instagram likes. Well, let's talk about some history really quick. This house was built around 1920. And its first claim to fame was actually an article in Better Homes and Gardens in 1974 that showed off its new kitchen at the time. John and Cynthia Ebensheen, I don't know how to say their last name properly, but they bought it in the late 80s and they owned the home when the movie was filmed. Once they became empty nesters and needed to downsize, they sold it for about $1.5 million. That was in 2012, about 10 years ago. I'm sure they got tired of all the visitors all the time, but they seem to have a good attitude about it. The new homeowners seem less enthused about the home being a semi-tourist attraction, which begs the question that we've all asked ourselves and others: why buy such an iconic house if you don't like the attention it gets? But only they know, and they don't really talk to anyone. Let's quickly point out some things so we can get out of their hair. First up, check this out. As you probably noticed, there have been a few modifications to the house, so let's quickly go through the timeline. Again, it was 2012 when the new owners bought the house, but that was around the same time social media was really starting to explode, so I imagine the amount of people showing up was starting to increase very quickly. And it looks like it was about 2014 when they put the fence up to keep people from coming on the property, taking pictures in the lawn, recreating scenes on the property. And by the way, I have to show you this. I interviewed the actor Paul Walter Hauser for another video earlier this year, and he told me about his visit to the Home Alone house back before he was famous. This was back in 2008. The previous owners were living there, but you can imagine this was probably a common occurrence.
From the movie, right?
About 2 years later, 2016, they tear down the garage and they build a new one facing the perpendicular direction, along with a really big addition to the back of the house. Now, as most of you know, the Home Alone production built facades on the back of the house instead of using what was there at the time. So I think it's interesting, the exact spots where they stood to film those scenes are probably now inside of the house. This is also about the same time that they take the circle driveway out of the front part. Another incredible home. It's the next door neighbor. This is where old man Marley lived, and you can see him right here shoveling snow as they watch from the window over here. One of those overshared fun facts of the movie is that they did this shot in reverse. I think it's pretty easy to tell by the way Kevin's motion is when he's screaming, but the van actually reversed into the driveway and he's standing there. And right here is the neighbor's house where it all happened. Forgot to mention, this is also the house, by the way, where the wet bandits were finally caught after terrorizing the neighborhood for so long. This house made it in the news a couple of years ago because they had a whole bunch of behind-the-scenes footage. The homeowners every day took 30 to 60 seconds of behind-the-scenes footage while they were filming here. And right now you can see a "Merry Christmas, you filthy animal" sweater right in the window. It's pretty cool. A lot of people think the interior of the house was used as well. I think they used the foyer and maybe part of the living room, but most of the interiors were actually built in an old high school that was disused at the time. So let's go over there. We're now on the campus of New Trier High School, which is just a 9th grade campus. It's the West Campus, but it's also full of administrative offices. The campus here kind of looks like a community college. It's separated into a bunch of different buildings, and it's kind of cool, but it was empty at the time of filming. If you're wondering what was filmed here, it was all of the interior sets. They used the gym and the pool area as a sound stage, and they used all of these offices as their production offices. They actually go into good detail on it in the Netflix series, The Movies That Made Us, in their Home Alone episode. They also show you some behind-the-scenes pictures of the sets and where they were situated, so you can see the neighbor's basement built in the pool here. And the set was built in the pool because, if you remember, they had to flood the basement. Here's a couple of different angles of that set being built. Shout out to my buddy Matthew McCloy for tracking these photos down, which are from mockingbirdlane.design, and that site got them directly from Home Alone's production designer and the art director. So if you look at this image, you can see that they built the set right in the middle of the pool. There's the stairs right there, and that means that this box here would have been the kitchen where Old Man Marley comes to the rescue, and that's the spot right there on the side of the pool. The basketball gym was used for the sets of the McCallister home. In this photo, you can see exactly where it was situated, and the site I mentioned conveniently labeled each room for us. It's easy to get the bearings from this picture because only one side of the gym has the elevated bleachers. The panels on the walls are unchanged, and in this shot of the parents' bedroom set, you can see these 4 circles at the top of one of them. They've all still got those. And here's an image from the movie, so you can see what it looked like there. Here's another angle of the full set, and right here you can see where the kitchen was. Here's a shot from inside the kitchen, and this one's cool because you can see the exact bleachers that I'm standing on, closed back against the wall right outside of the window. If you want to see more of the set photos, they're really interesting. Check out that website I mentioned. Pretty wild to see how they did all the sets in here, and probably a little bit depressing knowing that they didn't shoot inside the house very much at all. I will link that site in the description below. Now, I called ahead to ask if we could see the gym, take some pictures, see the pool area, but we were told no, they don't do that here. But guess what? They got athletics. They happen to have a basketball game today, so we were able to go inside and show you. I just see no as a challenge. Now we're hanging out in Hubbard Woods Park. A lot of stuff was filmed here. The main thing is he steals a toothbrush from a store on the corner. That's right behind me. It's now an ice cream shop, and I love this area because it shows you how much can change and also how little can change with filming locations. So look across the street here. You've got these trees that match up when he's running away, and they say shoplifter, and then the cop sees him. The branches still have those same bins and everything. You would think they would fall off at some point or something like that. But when you talk about how much can change, look on the inside of the store. It's so different now. It's an ice cream shop. Before that, it was a Panera. Who knows how many things it was before that. But if you look right here in the corner while we're on the inside, you can see they changed the door. This is where Old Man Marley would have walked in. Now the door is facing a different direction. Something weird I noticed, the marbling. Kind of looks like a slice of pizza right here. And then you get this big curve under it. You can see that. They didn't change this part of it. But a lot of this door is changed. We've also got the wheelchair accessible ramp now here. Now let's get an aerial view so we can see how everything is laid out, in case you want to come and see these spots for yourself. So right here is the store on the corner, the ice cream shop now. This is where he steals the toothbrush and he runs out. Right here is the park. He runs across here and he slides across the ice. And he continues to run across. When he gets to the train tracks, he runs across the bridge that goes over it. I'll try to recreate that shot. We're making a pit stop here in Graders where the toothbrush was stolen by Macaulay Culkin, Kevin. I don't know if this is approved by the American Dental Association, but it tastes good. There There's another store in the movie from the scene where Kevin buys groceries, and we'll do a quick tour because carrying a camera around inside of a busy grocery store is very awkward. But welcome to the Grand Food Center. It's actual walking distance from the Home Alone house. The inside of the store has been updated over the years, but it still has the same kind of feel, I guess. The dairy section is still in the exact spot as when Kevin was shopping here. Also, look at how this thing on the ceiling is shaped. It's sort of angled there because it comes out over the butcher's section. I accidentally showed the left side of it. It's the right side you see in the movie. That's when he heads up to the checkout. He has the funny exchange with the lady, and then that's the grocery store. I like the size of this grocery store. It's probably like half the size of your average Aldi. Prices are in the Whole Foods range, but I like the variety of products they offer. Lots of unique brands. Produce also seemed pretty fresh, so I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Now we're where they filmed Santa's workshop. We're actually behind where the workshop was set up. It was right here in the middle, about right there. They've changed up this middle section that's in between the 2 lanes. The only thing you really see in the background of this scene, because it's all decorated, is that building back there. Highly recommend, if you visit Home Alone locations, do it during December when everything's all dressed up and the lights are up, and it's just awesome. It'll get you in the Christmas spirit. And so I think this was about where Santa was parked. This spot. An old lady just left, so I'm glad she did, because I can kind of give you the angle. Kind of a grizzly Santa, but he is sweet to Kevin. He runs out of candy canes, so he gives him a couple of Tic Tacs before he's off to his Christmas party with his buddies. This is kind of one of those spots where you wonder, like, what new can I tell you guys? Nothing really. It's all been said. It's all been done. The only thing I can do is just show you what it looks like today. So here's one location that's very separated from the rest of them. If you were to look at it on a map, you'd be like, why is Kevin all the way up there? He's on foot. That's really far from his house. So this is where he sees a family on Christmas Eve. They're all happy, they're together, it's warm and loving, and he's missing his family a whole lot. It kicks off the whole scene of him going to the church and everything like that. But I think they chose this house because of all the windows. You can see in one shot from the outside, everything going on inside. There's the 3 next to the door, you know, they walk in, and then there's all those windows on that little portion. This is a really cool house. And I can't line this angle up, but I wanted to show you this house too, because you can see it behind Kevin. Can't line it up because it was taken from the porch, but that's the one. See the 3 windows there matching still. And also this tree is in the shot, but it was much smaller back then. Makes sense. 32 years, trees grow. I really like these off the beaten path locations, the one that aren't visited as often, because every time I go on a movie location hunt, you know, it's like treasure hunting. The more you can find, the funner it is. The more fun it is, I should say. Shout out to Chaz, he found this one. It's not like I had that eureka moment, but every filming location hunter knows that feeling when they find something that has, I don't know, not been known since the movie came out. I think Chaz might have been the one that find this house. His blog, it's filmthere.com. Make sure to check that out. He's always helping me with locations. Good buddy, friend of the channel. Go check him out. Now we're at the church that was used for the exterior shots of the church scenes. It's one of the hero locations from the movie, as we like to call them. You can see a couple of shots that I've matched up for you here of the whole church. And what I really love is that they set up a nativity scene in that exact spot, just like in the movie. This is Trinity United Methodist Church, by the way, and again, it was used as the exterior of Kevin's church. The interior shots were filmed a bit closer to downtown Chicago at Grace Episcopal Church, and we're going there too. We got to go in the church because there was a screening for Home Alone, and the screening was put on by On-Set Cinema, which I've talked about before. If you haven't been to one, I highly recommend it. A guy named Kenny Caperton started it, and he goes around to different locations and he shows the movies that were filmed there. Now, first off, weird thing that I noticed, the pew Kevin is sitting in is the 5th from the front. From this angle, you can count back from the column, but from this angle, he's in the 4th pew. You can see the spot that matches in the wood. Moving on. I did the best I could with the matchup shots. It is a church, so there's only really one spot to place the screen and the projector, and that just so happened to be right in the front where all the shots were taken. But that's all right because it's really about the experience. And while I was watching the movie, I started thinking about the question that I had asked myself earlier: why is it that I care so much about visiting the locations from my favorite movies? And I realized that there's a bunch of reasons. For one thing, I love traveling and I love movies, and it combines those two things together. But there's also the feeling you get when you find a new spot, the treasure hunting, the eureka feeling. I also like seeing the then and now comparisons. It's really fascinating to me to see what changes and what doesn't over a long period of time. I love the challenge that access to certain spots can be. But most of all, I love getting to go on adventures with my wife, spending time with her, going on these amazing location trip adventures, and then sharing it with all of you guys. So thank you for all the support over the past couple years of this channel. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2023.